Brookswood Bobcats. It's three-time BC Secondary School Girls Provincial Champion and Tournament MVP, 2020 ACC Tournament MVP, Canadian National Team member, and now Swiss Basketball League Pro. What more can be said? This week's Phone Calls with Friends guest is Aislinn Konig. Episode 6, Phone Calls with Friends, and we've got someone who's put her name down in Langley Event Center lore over the years, Aislinn Konig, joining us from Seattle, Washington. Freshly back, I assume, from North Carolina at some point. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's awesome to be able to be on your show.
We've got I wanted to jump back and start a little earlier than you even got here, because when you arrived in 2014 to Brookswood, they were coming off a pretty big year in 2013 when they went up against probably who was the biggest name in senior girls basketball at the time, Emma Wolfram, and the South Cam team, but they lost in the gold medal game. And so what was already a pretty solid team, they were adding a pretty big boost to. Were you pretty familiar with the Brookswood team when you were coming on board? Like, did you know what you're getting yourself into, or was it kind of just fresh when you walked into the gym in September or whenever you showed up?
Well, actually, I had no idea about Langley or any of the teams there. I played grade 8 JV where Charles Best, so I kind of had more of a knowledge about what was in Coquitlam and stuff, but I had no idea about Brookswood. They were still very good in my time, but I was a little bit removed from that. So when we decided to move, my dad actually was the one who was looking at the schools and checking it all out, and he talked to me about it, but he kind of made that decision that was going to be the right place, and I'm really thankful he did, because it was an amazing experience all the way through.
Well, it was. I mean, even if you look at the output of the people that came out of that school, is just pretty incredible. Brookswood's actually turned out a ton of unbelievable athletes overall. Like, I'm not sure, what age group you're in, but like Kyle Burrows came out of there, drafted by the New York Islanders. Kevin Killistoff went on to play at Dartmouth in the Ivy League in hockey. We have, there's been some track people out there, a number of basketball. Your team alone, like Taylor Jackson went on to the NCAA. Jesse Brown obviously had a great career at TWU. Like, it's been pretty crazy what just Brookswood as a high school is pumped out for athletes.
Yeah, and I think that has a lot to do with the culture that surrounds sports there. I mean, Neil Brown is an amazing example of that. The way he would come in early every single morning, make sure the gym was open, the attention to detail that the staff as a whole did. We were required to take high performance PE, which is weightlifting, and guess who was our PE teacher? It was Mr. Brown. So I think that's just kind of the culture that Brookswood was able to create, especially around those really key people like Coach Brown, Coach Veal, who I had the pleasure of playing under. That really kind of was the driving force of that success for those athletes.
So you guys, when you rolled into 2014, that was you guys put on a pretty good show that year as a team in whole. So I think if I remember correctly, you only had 2 losses all year. I think you lost at Christmas in San Diego, and then Holy Cross beat you. Possibly, it was a big game. Fraser Valley final, was that the loss?
Yeah, we didn't win our Fraser Valleys that year. So
yeah. Well, you won the right
really
one. So.
We had an amazing 3 years that I was there. Obviously, that legacy was before me and continued after me, but those 3 years I think were super special. I was trying to count with my family how many times I lost with that team, and I think it fits on one hand. So That's just an amazing experience to be able to be a part of something that was so dominant and exciting and had so much energy around it.
Is there any specific year of the 3 years you won there that kind of sticks out as the special one?
I think it would have to be the last year on the three-peat. It was just kind of a culmination of all the work we had put in, and people are going to say, well, you were shooing to win, you were doing all this stuff, but we were really preparing from the very beginning to continue to win our third one. That was our goal. So I think just being able to manifest that from 2 years before and then continue that through, I think, a three-peat was pretty amazing. I'm not sure how many times it actually was done before in history, but
I could be wrong, but I think only once. I could be wrong, but I think one time in the 70s there was a three-peat in girls basketball. So
I think you're correct. I think there was one time, and just being able to come together as a team and continue to win, because you know how easy it is. You have seniors graduating, team dynamics change, kids switch schools. So I think that being able to come together for 3 years of really solid basketball and have that all finish off with making history was something that was really special to me.
So what would you say, like, obviously it was a pretty dominant 3 years for you. So, like, how did you stay focused and keep the competition level high? Because obviously you knew all along you were going to make a jump to the next level, where the competition, you weren't going to go 40-2 in all likelihood. And it's how did you? And I know, believe me, I know Neil Brown well enough to know that if you guys were up 70-2, he'd have had you keeping the pedal down. So it's one thing, but, like, with the and I don't want to knock anybody and say there was a lack of competition. I'm just saying, like, when you're kind of going into games, the heavy favorite every time. How did you over 3 years try to keep that intensity level up?
I think that was, for me personally, I can put that one out there a little bit in simpler terms. It was really me playing against myself and what I wanted to be in college. So every single game for me was an opportunity to highlight the type of player I wanted to be. And obviously in that last year, I had already committed. I was moving on, but it's still, I took a lot of pride in being able to step on that floor and play basketball the way I wanted to. So for me, that was a really big motivating factor. And also, we wanted to get that three-peat. I have like friends on the other teams who I played AAU with, and we're always chirping back and forth. I think we had a group chat, and on my senior year, I posted a picture on my Instagram, and it was of us three seniors, and I have all the friends from AAU were just commenting like, guys, do not let her win again, like all this stuff. So it was definitely a lot of competition and pride taking place there. And then as a team, every year we had players who weren't there for the year before. So they were experiencing it for the first time, and that always brings in a ton of energy onto that team. So, it's always, well, you guys have done it, but we need to do it again for them. They need to experience this. So I think Coach Brown and Coach Field did a wonderful job of really making sure we stayed focused and understood what the goal was at the end, and that helped as a driving force behind our success.
So you touched a little bit, but you'd already committed. So I know that you were pretty heavily recruited, and but as far as I know, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you only actually went on 2 college visits. I think you did Stanford and, of course, North Carolina State. So what kind of it was it, of everything that happened, how did you narrow it down to those 2, and what was kind of your mitigating factor and when you made your decision?
So that was something that I was very strict with what I wanted from the very beginning. I had people calling me from schools that I knew absolutely that was not somewhere I wanted to be, just because it wouldn't fit who I was, didn't fit where I wanted to live. One of those schools, for example, would be like a school in Iowa, and I didn't want to live in Iowa. I wanted to be on a coast, kind of close to the water. I wanted to be in a little bit more urban setting. And so on a call, I would, after I went through my first couple of being able to turn people down, building that confidence, not feeling guilty for turning down this opportunity, I'd get calls from places that I knew absolutely I didn't want to go to. And it became really easy to tell them up front, hey, I don't think this is going to be a right fit from the get-go. So we need to probably focus on other matches around. So I think that overall, I did a really good job, and my family helped me with this, and my coaches helped me with this, of making sure that I stuck to the things that I really needed and wanted to be successful. And those were the things that were my deal or no deal type situations, and that allowed me to narrow my list pretty quickly. And you get 5 official visits, but I only took 2 because I did that process at such an early stage.
Well, obviously Stanford's a pretty well-known women's program, so that has to help. And so, how much did conference come into play for you? Like the ACC is, like, when it comes to basketball, is about, the ACC is as big as it gets. You're playing in some of the most iconic programs. Like, did that play into it at all, or were you just simply looking what's my fit and going from there?
So it was definitely, the conference had something to do with it. I think I wanted to be in the most competitive possible situation. Obviously, even going into college, my goal was to get to the WNBA, and that goal is still ongoing. But I think that Pac-12 was a really scoring-heavy conference that was, you see the Sabrina Ionescu's, you see the Area McDonald's and you see all these great prolific scorers, and that was something I was really drawn to in high school. That was my type of play. But then you look at the ACC, and it's super athletic. It's going to be a challenge for me. It's going to be a chance to elevate my game, and I think that played a huge part overall in my decision down the line. Obviously, when I'm looking at schools, that's not the first thing I'm looking at, but it definitely helps when the conference is so talented and challenging. And, I think you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure they had the most WNBA drafts this year come from that conference. So maybe they came second to the Pac-12. So it was just really a chance for me to grow and challenge myself, and that was what I was looking for.
So are you a sports fan? Like, do you follow all of it as well? Or are you, like for me, I'm a huge sports fan, so I look at the ACC and the opportunity to play at Cameron Indoor or Chapel Hill or, even like the KFC Yum Center in Louisville. I know last year you and Louisville were sort of the top of the ACC. So it's, going, and I think the KFC Yum Center is the second biggest arena in the AC or in NCAA basketball. And so is that something cool for you? Was it awesome to be able to go into these iconic places and play these iconic teams, or was it something that's just like, I'm here to play basketball?
It was absolutely amazing. Like, that experience, it never really wears off, like kind of the awe you get when you're walking to those gyms. You walk into Cameron Indoor, you're going to the Yum Center, and it's huge, and it's packed full. And the ACC has a wonderful fan base that is really loyal and dedicated to their athletes. So being able to come into those gyms that all this history has happened in, you've seen on TV, you've been dreaming about this experience for all 4 years. It's always just so it gives me chills like thinking about it, because it's the most exciting part of playing in the ACC is being able to be in these iconic gyms. And I still am in awe every time I get to play in those things. It's really one of those moments where you get to sit down and really appreciate what has happened in your life and where you are in that moment. And it was really something I didn't expect to have such an impact. I mean, I thought, maybe you'll get used to it. Maybe it's not going to be as exciting the next year or the year after, but I was definitely wrong about that. It's something that I think, for the rest of my life, every time I get to walk into those gyms, it's going to be just awe-inspiring.
That's good. I like hearing that, because I think that's how I'd be too. Like, I even as a fan, to get to walk into there, I don't think I'd ever forget it. So it's something that we'll have to work on. But let's talk about your last year here, because I know you actually, speaking of KFC Yum, I think you guys played in there and had a pretty good game with Louisville. They beat you, and then there was a bit of a stutter step in there, but then you guys finished on 5 straight wins, rolled into the ACC tournament. You win your ACC tournament, and then the season's abruptly ended on you. So, I mean, you guys probably had, I'm pretty sure your Final Four was in Louisiana this year, New Orleans. And so you guys, what were your thoughts? Like, you must have had some pretty good confidence heading towards the tournament, and then it ends on you. So, especially in your senior year, like, it must have been pretty disappointing to have it shut down like that.
I mean, absolutely. It was heartbreaking. I mean, we come off of the first ACC championship win in 29 years. Our team is young and hungry and ready to take on the NCAA. For me personally, I came off of an MVP performance. I am gunning for the WNBA. This is my chance. My season has finally started to go the way I wanted it to, and it sucks that it happened so late, but I started off really rough. So I was in my groove. I think the team as a whole was really, we were peaking at the perfect time. And we actually found out the tournament wasn't happening while heading into our first practice to prepare for it. And, as a team, that has had this wonderful experience, who feels like they have everything going their way, and to have that snatched away at the last second is heart-wrenching. It was something that wasn't really believable until everybody had left the gym, and I was sitting there. We had stayed. We weren't supposed to practice, but the team decided we were going to stay and do our own practice to kind of say goodbye and mourn our season a little bit. And I remember everybody had left, and we'd been there for like 3 hours playing and stuff, and I was sitting in that gym, and it's been my home for 4 years. It's been a place where when I can't sleep, I would be in the gym. When I was having a bad day, I worked it out in the gym. And so I'm sitting in this gym that was my home, and it kind of settles. Everybody is gone, and it's over. Usually you find out it's over on a floor while you're playing, but this time I was sitting in there just appreciating Reynolds. And it was definitely something that was difficult to come to terms with, especially since we wanted to keep going. But, I will cherish those memories and that time there, regardless of how it finished for the rest of my life.
The silver lining, you walked away an ACC champion in the MVP tournament, so at least you got to go out on a high note for your last game you ever played there. It could have been worse.
I know, we like to joke that short of winning the national championship, that's the best way our season could have possibly ended. So, we just we're taking our wins wherever we can find them.
So, I mean, and at the same time, it's clearly not over for you. I see that you've signed in Switzerland now, and you're heading over to a team that, if I've heard correctly, just won their final the last championship played. They're the championship team, so you're probably on to some more success here in the future.
Yeah, I have the wonderful opportunity to continue to play over in Switzerland. It's Elfic Freiburg. They're considered the top team in Switzerland. They are always contenders in the championship, all of the Swiss championships, their league championships, regular season. So that's going to be a really exciting new challenge for me, a new journey. They also play in the Euro Cup. We're not completely sure what's going on with that, with everything that's going on in the world right now. But they're the only Swiss team, I believe, that is in Euro Cup. So that gives me an opportunity to play against some of the best teams all over Europe. And I'm just super excited to have a new journey and not have to put the basketball shoes away just yet. I'm ready to keep going, and hopefully this is just another step to getting to the WNBA.
I'm told actually have Austrian citizenship, and I'm not a geography major, but I'm pretty sure that borders with Switzerland. So what's your tie to Austria? Is that just a piece of paper, or is it something that's actually kind of part of you, or are you kind of going home here?
I've never actually been to Austria. My sister plays for the Austrian national team, and my dad, we got our Austrian passports through my dad's citizenship from my grandfather. So we have family over there. That's going to be an awesome perk of being in Switzerland. They can come and watch me play, and I can finally meet some of my extended family that I've never met before. But, I think it's just really exciting to be in Europe in general, and having that European passport, maybe I decide to stay. So it's just super exciting, and I can't wait to start this new adventure and really dive into the next step of my life.
Yeah, it's awesome. Again, and just more as amusing than anything. It's, you can tell, whatever you at, I'm sorry, what are you, 22, 23, wherever you're at, you've spent so much time diversifying your life to add Europe to the list, and then, and with all the goal eventually of coming back and playing in the WNBA, no matter what, your life experience is paying off for you. So I'm glad, it's nice to see that you actually appreciate that. Some people might not appreciate what it is so much. But you touched bases briefly on your sister playing for the national team, and of course you've had some pretty good success playing for the Canadian national team. One game in particular, Latvia, you threw up 10 3-pointers. That's which is the record. Is that when you tell me about that game a bit? Did you know what was happening, or were you just on fire that night and kept shooting, or was it something you were aware of when you were sitting at 9 or 8, or were you counting? So
this is a funny story, but also makes me look a little bit like a terrible daughter. So don't judge me too hard. We were going into that game, and it was like every other game. It didn't feel anything special, but I had been shooting actually poorly in our shoot around before the game. And it's always very difficult to shoot with the FIBA ball when you're always switching balls back and forth and you're traveling and the gyms are different, and you, as much as you prepare, it really comes up to what happens in the game. So I'm going through this game, and I start hitting it, and if you see, there's a couple of plays where I was probably not supposed to shoot it at that time, but I was feeling it so good that I was like, you know what, I need to shoot this, it's gonna go in. And after that game, it was a whirlwind. I set a world record. I had no idea it was a world record. I actually didn't even know how many threes I hit until after the game. And then I go into the locker room and my phone is blowing up. And it's from my mom. And it's her birthday. And she goes, this is the best birthday gift ever. Like, I can't believe it. Like, you did this for me, all this stuff. And I just looked at my phone and I was like, oh my goodness, it's her birthday. I did in the action of the day, the time change, all of it, didn't even clue in it was her birthday. Well, so I told her I dedicate it to you, Mom. I knew the whole time. I knew it was your birthday. It's just a gift. It's a surprise. I planned it like this.
It shows the zone you were in. You didn't know you were setting a world record. You didn't know it was your mom's birthday. You're just shooting a basketball. Sometimes that's the best way to go about it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And you know what? She could not have cared less afterwards.
Yeah, that's good. Wow, come on. I'm a parent, too. If my daughter did that, I'd be pretty proud myself, even if it wasn't for me. I'd appreciate the lie at the same time, though. So it's the what's sort of next for you right now? Like, how are you you training? You have anything you're actually working? Is it all solo efforts, or are you what's going on right now?
It is kind of weird trying to train in the scenarios right now, and I'm in a newer place. I didn't live in Seattle before college, so I've made some awesome friends around the neighborhood that we play pickup every day. But as far as training, it's a little bit by myself, but I'm also working with some different groups, Mark Wilkerson and Christian Faith Basketball, some with Michaela Pivick, who I'm not sure if you know who she is, but she was drafted to the Dream and opted out early. So, just kind of finding workouts where I can get them, getting the training where I can get them, and just trying to be prepared for Switzerland, which is coming up pretty quick. So just trying to be fit and strong and keep my shot sharp.
Well, I can tell you something here at Langley Event Center. We take our alumni very seriously, so we're all cheering for you every step of the way. We've all kept an eye on your career, among others that have kind of gone on from this. And I also know that as soon as this comes out, Neil Brown's probably going to shed a tear or two watching this, because that's just how he is. As much as gruff a guy he is, he's one of the softest guys I know too. So at any rate, I don't want to keep you all morning. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. It's been awesome. Best of luck in the future, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Tyler. It was awesome.